This is like the Nash Nowitzki. Whose career would you rather have, REM or Motley Crue?
REM.
Oh, REM.
REM.
All day.
REM.
Yeah.
Look, I know Motley Crue, did some damage, but when they were touring.
Wow.
But
you answered a little quick. Motley Crue had a good run.
Oh my God, Motley Crue, give me a break. A big hair band.
They're in their sort of fat Elvis stage, though. That's kind of gross
and cool.
No offense.
Yeah, REM. Those are artists. Motley Crue. They're exactly what their name is. Motley Crue. They had more fun, I can guarantee you that. Pat Forde from Yahoo Sports. Sorry, Pat, you had to listen to this. How are you, bud?
Yeah, I miss REM too. I'm with you. And you know what? They're kind of low key fade out. It kind of almost fits them.
I guess so. But having seen them in concert a couple of times, I like REM. But I can't even believe one of my Danettes said Motley Crue or REM. Whose career would you rather have? I didn't know Motley Crue had a career, but I could be wrong.
You need to put on your calfskin gloves and slap him for that.
All right, here you go. The college football 10-second rule. Is this going to be voted on? And first of all, explain it. And is it going to be voted on?
Well, it's going to be voted on tomorrow. Is the schedule? Yeah, it's at least on the docket. And to explain it, that basically they're going to stand over the ball and wait till 10 seconds have run off from the play clock before you're going to have a snap. Would be the rule. Now, is it going to pass when it gets voted on? I don't know. This is, the Saban rule. It's been called the Saban agenda.
Yeah.
Under the guise of player safety. But really, I think more tangibly, the reason is that's not the way he wants to play and not the way he's been successful playing.
Wait, who's voting on this, Pat?
The NCAA Rules Committee.
How many people?
I am not sure how many people are on the committee.
Are there coaches on that committee?
Yeah, there are some. I know Troy Calhoun from Air Force is the head of it.
Okay. To me, this is a way to play finesse football and to counteract Alabama. The reason why Alabama doesn't like it is because they want to play power football, and now you speed up that defense. You keep him out there a little bit longer, so all of a sudden his great weapon is not the great weapon that it used to be.
Absolutely, and if you've got 8 high school All-Americans on the defensive line, but you can't sub in and out, then your depth gets negated there. You can't take out Johnny Five-Star and replace him with Johnny Five-Star, because you got to leave those guys out there. So it's a very interesting tug of war here, and one of the things that the Sabanites, I guess, have pointed out is, well, in the NFL they do this, or they hold it. There's fewer plays in the NFL, so it's a safer game. The more plays you have, the more chance you have of getting hurt. There's also more players in college. You get an 85-man scholarship roster plus walk-ons. In the NFL, you've got 53. So I'm not buying that argument. Sorry.
When Nick Saban brought in Lane Kiffin, I thought that part of the reason why he brought in Lane Kiffin was to bring his offense into, this decade, like to do some different things, some fun things, maybe to counteract what you see at Baylor and Oregon, that we can play that style. A.J. McCarron said, we could do that. Coach just didn't want to do that. Does Lane Kiffin do anything to that offense where it's markedly different than what we're used to seeing?
I don't think so, at least the offenses that he's been part of running before. I mean, at USC, at Tennessee, and at USC as an assistant coach. They were not hurry up. They were pretty traditional, pro-style offenses. They certainly didn't look anything like what Oregon and Baylor were doing.
But why would you bring in Kiffin then instead of an offensive-minded guy who has different looks? So Alabama could play your football and their football if they wanted to in the same game.
I don't know. I mean, I just don't think that's the way Saban wants to play. And, I think Kiffin is a recruiter and as a play caller, I think there's fewer issues with him there than there are with him being the head of a football program. So from that standpoint, he's attractive. But I think Nick Saban's got his heels dug in about how he wants to play.
He's Pat Forde from Yahoo Sports. The reason why I was going to have you on is you had a recent article, which teams are in the hunt for the final number 1 seed. Give me the number 1 seeds right now, because I'm confused. I don't know if anybody's any good.
That's a legitimate question these days because you're seeing a lot of teams hit the wall right now, and Syracuse, chief among them. They're not a 1 seed anymore after being the last unbeaten. Right now, it's Florida, it's Arizona, it's Wichita State, very deservedly in my opinion, and probably Kansas for the fourth one. But I think Wisconsin, Virginia, Duke, they've all still got a shot at being that last number 1 seed here in the last couple of weeks.
How impressive is Wichita State running the table?
Very, I think. I mean, yeah, it's diminished to a degree without having Creighton in the conference, but I've seen him play in person. I saw him last year during the tournament. I saw him in the Final Four, just about beat Louisville. It's pretty much the same team as then. They're super, super tough defensively, physically, mentally, and they know what they're doing. They're expertly coached, and they're veterans. I think they've got a great chance to not just go to the Final Four. I think they've got a chance to win it all.
Gregg Marshall's a good coach.
Yeah.
And I was told last year that he could have had the UCLA or USC job if he wanted to, and he said that he did not want that. There was no reason to take that job. I don't know how long you stay at Wichita State. What do you think happens here?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, a lot of people passed on UCLA, which probably means there's something wrong with UCLA that the rest of us aren't seeing. But as far as Marshall, his personality isn't necessarily an easy fit everywhere. I think he needs to be more at an off-Broadway place. I mean, he's not going to be all things to all people in one of those glamour jobs, blue blood jobs.
Yep.
He's a scrapper. He loves having the chip on the shoulder. And that plays very well in Wichita State, where the University of Kansas is still looking down its nose at you perpetually, even this year while you're going undefeated, and would play well at other places that have that sort of identity, but not at all of them.
I know you're a Louisville guy. Let's preface this next question with that. But I spoke to a guy who's connected to the Kentucky basketball program and spent some time, probably 30 minutes with him. And we were just talking college basketball, and then we got to John Calipari. And I said, the more I see Calipari this year, the less inclined I am to believe this is his final stop. I think he's realizing these one-and-dones, ton of talent, and he caught lightning in a bottle with that one group, but he had, Kid Gilchrist and Anthony Davis where they were great team players. Now all of a sudden you get these kids where, they come in from AAU basketball, and now you say, hey, we got 5 months to make some magic here. I think he's realizing just how tough it is with the one and done, and I get the feeling that he's not long for Kentucky. Am I seeing a little bit more into this than I should?
No, I think that's certainly a very legitimate postulate at the very least. I mean, the last 2 years have been no fun. They've been really difficult, and it's good. The prospect is there for it happening again. You don't know who's going pro. You don't know who's coming back. And certainly at least a couple of guys are going pro early, if not 3 or 4. And so you're back in the spin cycle and hoping you've got some veterans to help your team grow. And if you don't, then you're really up against it. So, is he having fun? No, it's quite obvious he's not having fun. Does that mean he's looking to get out right now? I don't know. But I do know, Dan, Kentucky historically is a burnout job. I mean, other than Adolph Rupp, nobody stays, for even 10 years. I don't think Tubby might have been there. No, maybe Tubby did 10, but that's the most anybody's done since Adolph Rupp. So, this is year 5 for Calipari. If there's an NBA job out there that he wants, maybe he takes a look at that.
The Knicks.
But there you go. Hey, if they want him, he would probably want them, but I'm just guessing at that.
One final note. I mentioned that Larry Brown can hold his own with any coach who's ever coached the sport. And I'm talking about Phil Jackson, Red Auerbach, John Wooden. I don't care who you put up against him. The knock on Larry is always going to be that he was, he was very transient. He didn't stay, but where he was when he was there, he made players better. He made them winners. And here he is again at SMU. He's 73 and still creating magic. If you look at I don't like using Mount Rushmore. We've used it now. It's been beat to death by every other radio show. But Larry Brown is up there among the greatest coaches of all time, at least in my opinion. Where do you see him?
Top 5 all-time coach in the history of the sport at any level. I don't think there's any doubt about it. If you go back and look at the track record and some of the bad jobs he had in the NBA where he did great things, and then what he's done in college, I just don't think there's any doubt that he is right there with the guys you mentioned, among the all-time greats. If he had stuck around in one place for any length of time and won multiple titles, people would be talking about him the way they talk about Phil Jackson and Red Auerbach. He didn't do that, but he deserves the recognition because he really is a genius.
He is. If he had stayed at Kansas, let's just say, I mean, who knows? But I do marvel at his ability, his willingness to still teach. And I think that that's what frustrates coaches now. They don't get the opportunity to teach because these kids, they're only there for 5 months, the great ones. They don't want to listen to anybody.
Sure, no, they're looking right through you. It looks like, I mean, if you look at like the Kentucky team huddles at times, those players are looking right through Calipari like, okay, let's get this over with, literally and figuratively.
Check in with you as we approach the tournament. Thank you, Pat.
All right, thanks, Dan.
That's Pat Forde, Yahoo Sports.